All right. We should be live. We'll find out. You know how this works. It's always a question of if it's working on LinkedIn and all those other places. But welcome everyone to Connected Human Conversations. So glad that you're here with us tonight. My name is Nancy Barrows, and I am here with Mike Paterano, and we're here to talk about the voices in our head tonight. So I'm super, super excited about tonight for a number of reasons. I love this topic. It is something that I have done a lot of work around and through and on and in and over and under, and to understand about the voices in my head and to change the narrative, change who's in charge, change that executive board, as I like to call it. But I'm also really excited for tonight because it's the first time Mike and I are back together in a while. You had not been here because you weren't feeling well, and having you back tonight is it's happy making.
It was really one thing after another. It was like I couldn't catch a break, right? The thyroid finally started getting better. I started getting back on track. And then from there went a stomach bug that just wouldn't go away. It ran through the house. And it started with Michelle last Sunday and then Thomas Tuesday. And by Wednesday, I was done. And as you can hear, this is life at normal because Sid's in the background and playing with her tablet. You hear the older two yelling back and forth because who knows what they're doing. And, you know, your cat's in the picture, and I'm sure Sid will be here eventually. So
exactly, this is a show. We're one Sid shy of a show.
Right. I mean, this is just life is normal, and I'm excited about this topic because this is something that's near and dear to me because I have more negative. I'm sure Sid will be here eventually. So there we go. That's what happens when I put it on my phone. You know, and I'm sure, you know, I have more negative narratives in my head than most people probably even can ever think of in a lifetime, just because I always relate past experiences and unfortunately bring them forward with me. And that's how my subconscious really kicks me in the teeth. Well, what I call it is my subconscious, is that voice in my head that tries to take over and bring me down to a place that I've been before. Tries to bring me backwards. And I call that my subconscious because it's the easiest way for me to understand. It's my old patterns and behaviors. I don't need them. Can you throw them away from me?
Come on, Sid. We're looking for a show here tonight.
Keep coming.
We could do Connected Human Conversations bingo one night. I mean, really, like, will Sid show up? Will my cat, come in the picture?
It's... Hey, Emily. Hey, Annie. Hey, Brian. Hey, yes. Hey, Rob. It's been a while. I haven't been here in a while. So, hey, Bill's here too. Hey, Bill. I miss being live, right? Like, this is my human. Keep your leg down. You don't have panties on. Please keep your leg down. We're not flashing the world.
Let's not say those things live. We can give her a little privacy.
Yeah, sure. You want everybody to see your leg. There's your foot.
There's a foot. I see a foot.
Everybody's saying hi to you, okay? Annie's saying hi. Brian's saying hi. Nancy says hi. Everybody says hi to you. Even Brad showed up. Hey, Brad. Annie-Tude's not live right now. Annie-Tude's at home. Okay. Can you move over for a few so I can do this, baby? You want to sit on my lap? Okay.
She's meant to be on camera. It's not her fault.
I went from a voiceover in my head to having a Sid. The voice in my head, that I really call it my subconscious. And I actually heard a great interview yesterday from a psychotherapist, something that's psycho in front. That's the only reason I remember. I was married to one of those at a point. She said that the reason that your subconscious does that is because the patterns and behaviors to facilitate on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So our subconscious is run by our old patterns and behaviors. It was an amazing interview. I'll share the link actually on this once I find it again. It was Tim Bilyeu, I believe, and Impact Theory. And
that's a fun.
Yes, you did. Thank you for announcing. And it was just an amazing interview talking about why and the how that our subconscious does that to us. and why it keeps trying to bring us back to old patterns and behaviors. And for me, that's the voice in my head. I mean, I could name them, but I don't think I'm that sophisticated or that skilled at it. Oh, I think I had too many of them my whole life.
I will say, for me, I bring my past with me, but I've come to a place where it's with gratitude and love and welcoming it to walk alongside of me. That is not to say that those old voices don't pop in and make a visit every once in a while. Hello, my delicious friend. And, in preparation for this came up. I was inspired by watching Bruce and Annie live. I don't know if that was yesterday or the day before. My concept of time is totally lost. But I was listening and commenting and, talking about naming our inner voices. And I had done a lot of work with my family in my head. And when I first started the work with my family in my head, what I found was that there was nobody rooting for me. There was nobody in there who wanted to see me succeed, truly. So I went back to one of my therapy notebooks and I pulled out my family. I mean, literally there are scraps of paper, but they are my family. And the ones that I first had, and I'm curious who relates to these, I had the third grade nun was one of them. She's the because I said so, right? You did it wrong, wrap your finger. Why are we doing it? Because I said so. I had the worker bee. I'm a good little worker bee. I can do my job. I'm going to power through. I've got this. I had the eraser, endure, right? Who undid anything that, was positive or potentially a compliment going well. I had the loser, just straight up loser. Thank you, Annie. I appreciate you rooting for me. I had a Wilde Chaya, which in Yiddish is like the wild one. And that was representing both my wild side and my anxiety. The Wilde Chaya was like, no one also. And then there was the stupid Nancy, the perfect girl, my research scientist, where everything had to be proven. So feelings didn't matter because if you could prove it to me, then it didn't matter. And my
You're welcome, baby.
Nowhere among them was anyone being kind. There was no one telling me I could. And I literally would have executive board meetings, and these are the people that would show up. These were the people that were guiding my decisions. These were the voices, quote unquote, people that were influencing my everyday outlook and attitude. And it wasn't until I could start bringing in and introducing, sort of the new, young leadership, so to speak, that things started to shift. And in fact, in my therapy notebook, I found a letter that I wrote to them. And I explained to them that we were going to be starting a new program. We're using a new system here now. So making you aware of that, and it was something like in an effort to fully embrace my happiness, my connectivity, all of that good stuff. We're starting a new system. And the next line was, it has recently come to our attention that some of you, have been resisting this change. And there it was. The discussion began between the old and the new, and starting to build a team that showed up when they were needed. Not only when they were needed, but they were always there. So a mediator that when a thought came into my head, it was like, well, let's think about that. Let's look at both sides. There was, of course, a cheerleader. There was, gosh, I have to look them up. All right, here. There was a kind voice, right? Yes, I did dig them up and find them. But it was really interesting to start to explore and name, either name by name or the personalities and what their roles were of these voices in my head. And I want to, I know there's so many people who came in, thank you, and Annie and Katie J, and I saw Bill and Yanis and Brian and Rob, Jenny, hi Jenny, and Gabe. Thank you guys all for being here. Really appreciate it. Always love to spend our Sunday evening with you. That's
a good question, Nancy. Not to cut you off.
That's okay. That's what I'm trying to find. If there's
right there, what does a resistance to change mean?
Right, and let me find it. If you find it, do it.
Well, that's a new question. I don't know if there was another one. I'm like trying to juggle Sid.
I think there were others, and I will go back. But so Yanis, what the question became that I would ask myself is, who shows up? Who shows up when, right? So if something's changing, who's showing up? Who is saying, no, we like it the way it is. We are comfortable in this discomfort. We know how to do this. It takes very little effort, very little energy. Who shows up when I'm trying to make a change? Is it that side of the executive branch of government in my head? Or is it the side that goes, all right, we can do this. It's going to take some energy. It's going to take some effort, but we know it's worth it kind of side of things. So what does it mean to resist? It just is when, for me, I keep, despite what I feel are my efforts, falling back into an old pattern that no longer serves me in a positive way. And despite my wanting to change it, despite my efforts toward changing it, it's really just sticking with me. And again, who's showing up? Who is fighting the change was a good question for me to ask myself. Or what are you still getting out of it? Because you're unwilling to put it down and try something else. Does that answer the question, I hope? Maybe. There were a couple of, let's see. Did you have, yes, okay. Yeah, I could not take a compliment. I could not take a compliment. I always had some excuse of why, like, oh gosh, it's because I'm wearing makeup today. Or, oh, I washed my hair. That's why I look great. It was very hard for me to take it in. And in fact, when I started really receiving compliments, it often, even now a bit, when people say nice things about me, it's very emotional for me. It really allows the inside of me to connect. And one of the things that I have gotten much better at, and I really appreciate, is when people do compliment, when people reflect back to me how I'm seen and how I'm received, is one of the greatest gifts I can be given. And to think that there was a point in my life that I just could not even hear the words. I didn't want to hear the words. So I was very good at disregarding them. Okay, so I'm going back through some of these because they're really good. Thank you guys for
I think my internet keeps freezing on top of the chaos here, so I'm trying to figure this out the best I can. Obviously, first day back, not working well so far, but I'm here.
You're here. So let's see. Okay, well, we'll just do some. Let's take just a moment to stop and let's see what's been said.
Kenny.
Yes, we're savoring the flavor. We're savoring the moment, savoring the awesomeness. We appreciate you. There was a post up today. I don't know if it went up today, but I saw it today about how amazing Kenny is. And it's true. He is one of the biggest hearted, biggest encouragers, supporters that I have met on LinkedIn. And that's a pretty incredible thing. Thank you, Kenny, because you managed to do it for all of us. It's not just one or two of us. You managed to do it for all of us. And then this is the show that Mike was talking about, right? How your subconscious
that's
operates.
the interview. It was amazing. It was great. Yeah, and Giannis asked me a question earlier about juggling the kids versus college days. I never had college days. I was thrown out of 2 high schools and then dropped out and just went on to make money, which then outlived college days by far. But I lived that lifestyle. And there's nothing I would give up. There's nothing I wouldn't give up for my kids. Like, my kids are everything. There is not a single thing in this world I've ever gone through that I wouldn't give up for my kids. I mean, I've been a millionaire worth millions of dollars 3 times and homeless 5 times. 2 times, not my fault. Make a note of that. But I mean, I would take this over them any day of the week. I would choose the situation I'm in now over not having them in everything I had at one point in my life. It's not even close. Like, there's just not a comparison.
And there's also that, it's chaos. It's just different chaos. And you learn to live in the chaos that you have, right? So let's see.
And I definitely tried different chaoses, that's for sure.
Yeah, we learn to tolerate them. I'm going back through comments. It went so fast. You guys are amazing. You're talking to one another. I love, again, there's always the welcoming of our family, not only from you and I, but that they welcome one another. I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay. And then this one I said very quickly, but I want to acknowledge. Thank you, Annie. I really appreciate that. And I know you are, and I feel you are. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then Rob was here. We're glad you're back, Rob. This was your response, Mike, that you've told us about. And then there's a name on this list that I haven't seen for a while. Gabe is here, and Gabe was off platform for a really long time, and he's now back, and it's really exciting to see you back, Gabe, because you have so much to offer through what you're doing. So welcome back. And there we go. Right, we've got a lot of people excited to see you. Also, look, Gabe. Jenny, I got your question. Thanks, guys. I know I'm not moving this forward, but I want to make sure if there's anything here. Okay, so Yanis, and this is another one. This is another great one. So compliments don't help me much. I'm very suspicious of people and their motives, right? I don't think that's unique to you. I don't tend to be. Mike, do you tend to be?
Tend to be what?
Suspicious of people and their motives.
Before I knew my worth, yes. When I wasn't sure of my worth and my value 100%, because I didn't believe it myself, right? So when I didn't believe it in myself, then I would never believe it if anybody else said it. You know, it comes to a point for me, if through this process, that I know my value, I know my weaknesses, I know what I bring to the table to help people. So I accept compliments a lot better today than I ever used to. And it took a lot of time. I mean, Annie, taught me a lot. Like, say I receive, say thank you. Like, I never knew how to respond to compliments. Like, it never was something. I just get quiet. And that's so opposite of who I am that nobody even knew what to do with me when I get quiet. I mean, what do you do with Mike when he shuts up? Like, who knows? So it's like, that's kind of where that went at first, right? Like at first, that's where it went. But it took time. It took time to understand, that I deserved compliments.
I think for me also, it was a bit of intuition. Mm-hmm. There was a time where I very similarly, like I didn't trust people and was suspicious because I couldn't, like my gut didn't give me the information, which is untrue. I was unable to connect with the information my gut and intuition was giving to me. And so my default was to be safe and not trust. I have become a better quote unquote judge of character, or the people who are really there and genuine versus people who might have ulterior motives. And that has allowed me to trust people and know when a compliment is sincere, know when it's coming from someone's heart. That has truly, that connection to my intuition has allowed me to step into a place of trusting myself more in who I gather around me, and trusting those people more, because they are quality people, and I feel like I can see and feel that with them around me. Thank you for doing. I see you doing.
I'm trying to keep us caught up, right? We both got to juggle. I mean, that's a big part of it, right? Too, like the intuition thing, knowing somebody's intent behind it helps. The phone's dead, baby. It's got to be plugged in. Where are you going to find the right charger? Okay,
don't give her a challenge like that. She'll find it in a heartbeat.
She found one. Okay. I don't think that one works on it, but that's okay. But I mean, the intuition thing's a big part of it, right? Understanding somebody's intent is huge. And as I keep evolving forward, it gets easier to see their true intent. I've learned not to even acknowledge people when I know their intent. I'm not mean. I'm not negative. I don't hate on people. I just ignore. because it's not worth me putting my focus or energy on at all.
Lenny, this is a great comment. I have an issue with men's compliments more often than women. Women I can receive most of the time. Due to your past situation with men, I'm more hesitant to trust their genuineness. And I think I'm going to say that you're not alone there. I think that's true for a lot of women. You know, we've all had those experiences that someone is interested in us for, you know, a singular reason. And so they are using flattery and building our egos and making us feel all sorts of ways. I have had relationship with more than one narcissist, and I know that those compliments, again, you know, it starts off, everything is really great, and then the whole rest of the relationship, I'm clawing to try and get back to when it was really great, but it was never really great to start with because it wasn't sincere, right? It wasn't genuine. You know, I think it's also how people choose to compliment me and what they're complimenting me on. For me. So I'm going to use dating apps as a very poor example. So dating apps, you put your picture up there, you describe a little bit about yourself, and people are matching with you, right? Clearly, there's something about your physicality that they like. It's the reality of what you're doing there, right? We have pictures of ourselves. You go look at them. I think she's beautiful. I think he's handsome. Let's connect. So when someone on a dating app comes to me with, first of all, I've had men say, yummy, just yummy, the word yummy, or hi sexy, or hello beautiful, right? Right there. The yummy is in its category all of itself, but hello sexy, hi beautiful. My first reaction is like, your emotional IQ is really low here, because I know that there's something about me, my physicality, that's bringing you to the door, but you have been either conditioned or it's worked for you or whatever, that starting by telling me I'm beautiful is sort of what's going to get me. It's what's going to win my heart. And that's just, I am always grateful to hear that I am beautiful or sexy or anything like that. Not sexy from the right people, attractive, pretty. But when it's the first thing someone comes at me with, it does feel very disingenuous to me, Annie. And I don't know, you know, exactly what your experience has been or what you're thinking of, but I do find that for me, less so now, because I'm connecting with men who are emotionally intelligent and know how, not dating, not talking dating anymore. What is dating? Whole nother show, but with the friends I'm making, because they're emotionally intelligent people. They're people who've done the work, and they're people who actually know how to be friends with a woman.
Nancy,
okay.
I took over comments while you were talking.
Thank you. Hi, girl. How are you? So delicious.
This is that phone.
Okay, that's a phone that's broken and dead.
Okay.
Well, dead.
I want to acknowledge Yanis's, and then you speak, and I'll take over comments. I didn't see it up there, so if it's up there again, but Yanis, I get too quiet, Michael, which I believe is a deal breaker. I have to become better at trusting me. Thank you, Nancy. I just want to change the words on that a little bit.
Trusting.
Oh, for me, you're frozen.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to change the words.
too.
Everybody's used to my, you know, rewording things and my how I feel about words and the power of words, but I get too quiet. I wouldn't say you get too quiet, you get quiet, right? The judgment in too quiet is there's a right or wrong way of how much quiet there should be. And that you have to become better at trusting your own self. You don't have to, but it sounds like you are putting energy into that. It's your desire and your intention to get better at trusting yourself. And Yanis, that's what you need to trust yourself. Those are the most important steps right there. So I know that you will be successful in this. And I commend you for taking the journey toward trusting yourself. You jumping in, Mike, or you want me to keep going? You frozen?
No, I'm not frozen at this moment, and I'm plugged into the router, so I really have no clue what's going on with my internet, but it's really horrible. It could be because it's raining and I'm in the middle of nowhere. when I look at, I want to say something about Giannis's next comment. I know I'm skipping down a little bit, but I think this is important also, and I also have something that I want to say about that. So yes, there is narcissists basically everywhere, and they at times they are difficult to identify. But I also think part of that is because when somebody is around a narcissist their whole life, they pick up tendencies. And they start having narcissistic tendencies because that's their patterns and behaviors. And that's their trained behavior. I also believe that when it's that type of situation, they can be unlearned and untrained.
Well, and I think
it's very difficult. I'm frozen again. I'm really frozen again.
You're back. You're in and out.
Again.
Betty, I don't want to end up stepping on your brain and your thoughts here. But yeah, I think what happens, and I've seen it in me, is that narcissistic tendency is, for me, when I get into that mode, it's survival. It's not true narcissism. You're back. It's not true narcissism, but it's survival mode, which is like, I need to figure out who's for me, who's against me. I need to see my way through the situation. So I don't know if it's true narcissism, but yeah, you're going to encounter a lot of narcissists out there. And I will say, Dennis, that the last serious relationship I had was with the narcissist. And I managed to last 10 months in that relationship. And I remember going to my therapist saying, the good news is I know how to spot a narcissist now. The bad news is I'm still really bad at getting out of the relationship. And so with the awareness, there was the awareness that alerted me to that's what was happening. And then the learning of like, when you see it, what to do and how do you see it and what can you do so that you remain safe and you remain centered. Bill Bradford, thank you. That means the world to me. Thank you. And Jenny, interesting. Jenny always had more close male friends than female friends. And I think there's a lot of people that experience that. It shifted for me. I had a lot of good male friends like in high school and maybe beginning college years. But I think part of that, Jenny, for me in my experience, is that women tend to put themselves in competition with one another. And we come from a scarcity mentality. And so we end up stepping on one another, holding one another back. We're not celebrating each other's successes because it seems to us, we've been taught that there's not enough out there for all of us. And so that was one thing that made it hard for me to connect to women when I was younger. The other thing was I'm pretty direct. I've always been pretty direct. And I don't like the whole like, okay, I can tell your mood's changed. What's wrong? Nothing. Did I do something to upset you? And then I have to figure it out. Like, we're going to spend all this time with me figuring out if I hurt your feelings, if I did something that bothered you, tell me. I will take responsibility and I will do my best to right the wrong. But that was hard for me. And I found that guys, that was just my male energy just worked with them better. Like, it was just straight up forward. What was happening was what was happening. And, they weren't they didn't view me as competition. And so it was just a whole different dynamic. But when I started to shift and embrace the more feminine side of me, not the, tough survivor that could handle anything, I started to find and make really good female friends.
I'm going to sign out and back in, and maybe that'll help, Nancy.
Okay.
I don't know what will help at this point, but
just come back. All right. So now you're stuck with me, but I love that you guys are putting your experiences and your thoughts into the comments. It's really helpful. And I love the engagement to know what's going on with you guys. I'm here talking, but I don't know how it's received unless you guys let me know. The other thing with the family of voices in my head, learning that the one who's yelling the loudest is the one who wins. And the more I listened to the person who was screaming most loudly, the louder they got. I was energizing that voice. I was giving that voice permission to take over. And it was happening without, thought. And that was one of the challenges for me. Why I wrote the letter to everyone was like, no, this is going to take my awareness and my effort and my energy, and I'm sticking with it. I don't want to fall back into the pattern where it's easy. It happens without me thinking, because it was hurting me. And I guess you get to a point, or at least I did, where it was so harmful to me that it was intolerable. I admit that, a lot of what has been my decision making in the past was, am I more comfortable with the known or the unknown? And I can stick with something and and tolerate a lot of discomfort. The learning was, yes, you can, but you do not have to. You're not obligated. Just because you can doesn't mean that it's a skill you need to use ever. Certainly not all the time. Let's see, Mike, how are you doing?
I think I'm good.
Yeah? Okay. So I was just, you caught the end of that, of what, to catch you up. You're with it. You got it? You feel like you got it?
Yeah, I'm good. Okay. We'll give it a run and see what happens. Yeah. For me, I've always related more with women, right? Like I've just always gotten along better with women. I think part of it is because I'm more balanced in my energy. Like I'm very comfortable within my feminine and masculine energy. So because I'm very comfortable on both sides, that I fit in well with women. Sometimes it makes men insecure because I'm so raw and vulnerable and open, and I don't hide anything. I'm not in to win anything over anyone except for myself yesterday. So there's no competition for me. I don't play the game of competition. It doesn't exist. I don't see competition. I don't believe in it. I'm just competing against myself. There's abundance. There's a never-ending, infinite supply of anything that I can reach for, and I want to see everyone get there. And that's me at my core. And a lot of times, people don't know how to interact with me or react to me. And there's been many times that I've fallen back into old habits because I've got sucked into games by people that just want to play games. But what I've learned is to just remove them from my life. I just don't need the chaos at all.
Yeah.
My life is enough chaos.
Well, and that's the thing, learning to live without chaos when you've lived in chaos for so long. That's another thing. It's learning not to have that high drama. And I don't mean drama in the way of like, oh, you're being so dramatic, but like that just high place of chaos and always being on alert and always running so fast and always having to stay one step ahead. It takes effort and work to learn. If that's where you've been living, it takes effort and work to learn to live in the everyday, that it doesn't run up. To not need that to feel alive and feel quote unquote normal. Yanis, why do we introverts fall from the villain? So is fall for the villain? Maybe I'm thinking. So why do we fall for them? I don't know, and I don't think it's my introvert that has fallen for them in the past. I think for me, it is my empath. It is my natural tendency to want to help and fix, is my ability to empathize and see that there's actually room for growth there. It is my ability to remain quiet, not a good one, but to lose my voice and tolerate things that I learned from my past. And so I don't think it's about my introvert. I think it's about who I am and how I relate to people. And so, I don't know, maybe I'm that person who thinks they can change the villain into Prince Charming. Or I was, because I now say I do not want a do-it-yourself project. That is so off the table. I believe the way it starts is the way it's going to end. So I'm not changing anyone. Change comes from you wanting to better yourself every day. So that's nothing I can do for anyone, but I do think there are factors going into it. So, if you're a good guy, and there's lots of times you get in that situation and that person is going through something and then somehow you're the bad guy for abandoning, right? We convince ourselves that that's the story, right? That, oh my gosh, this is so miserable right now and I don't know why I would be here and they treat me so poorly and they're giving me nothing. And somehow wanting to leave, I'm the bad guy. I'm abandoning and giving up on the relationship, right? So I think that might be some of the thinking that happens for people too. I don't know if any of that resonates with you specifically in your situation, but I know for me that has been, the pieces of who I am, allowing them to be offered to everyone, the positive ones, that they're offered to everyone equally. My drive to see the good in people and want to help people. And then some of my old maladaptive coping habits that allow me to stay there without, I can live on breadcrumbs. I don't need to have a voice. I can live in discomfort. That all works for me in the sense that I can do it, but it doesn't work for me as a total being. It's destructive for me for sure.
Well, what I can say about that is in the past, I've fallen for so much negativity and just pity cases that I just wanted to save, right? Like I wanted to be a savior because I didn't understand how I could be anything else. I thought it was the only quality that I brought to the table. Again, I think it goes back to a worth thing also.
I think that I thought my value came from helping and saving others.
Yeah, exactly. So, I fell into those situations with horrible relationships over and over and over again. And, over recent times, or at least very recent times, no, I don't need my glasses. Stop.
But you can see.
Yes, I can see. I have my contact.
See.
Sid, I'm lost.
Thank you, Sid, for taking care of Daddy. I appreciate you.
You're not holding my glasses. I love you, but it's the only set I have. No. Get upset. But now, for the first time in my life.
Hey, Sid, is there something else you can help Daddy with?
No.
No? I bet there is.
For the first time in my life, I've decided to choose the next woman that I'm going to be with is somebody that can.
Sid, that seems like a feeling over there. I'm sorry you're feeling that way. It's okay. You can feel disappointment.
Why that tone down? Why that tone down?
I want to cry. I just want to cry. I can't do this today. It's on the ground because the Wi-Fi stinks, so I had to move it on the ground so I could plug it into my computer. If you try to move it, it's going to rip the computer onto the ground, so please don't move that. I know that your OCD says it's not in the right place, but we can work with the OCD as soon 19 minutes. You're not going to hear the TV. The TV's on mute because I'm live on a show.
Hey, Sid, why don't you come be part of the show with us? Until the TV can be on, you're welcome to be part of the show with us. Do you want to do that? Think about it. It's up to you. You certainly could be with us until the TV can be on. I had posed this is where people fall on the men and women can't just be friends sort of notion that's out there. And Yanis said that he actually believes in friendship more than he believes in erotic or romantic love.
I think anything's possible based on the two people, right? Like, I mean, I think if somebody's evolved enough to understand what a relationship is and what friendship is and understand unconditional love versus conditional love and understand those things. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's going to understand or be used to unconditional love because it's very hard to find. And I've worked very hard to become a person that shows unconditional love because I also believe the more that I show it, the more that I can.
See you.
Why are you giving me my wallet? Where am I going? I'm doing a live show.
Then Yanis, I'm reading this and my first thought was, this isn't necessarily a bad thing because the friendship and the emotional piece, right, is so important in a good relationship to build a good relationship. So the fact that you believe in friendship and you are able to build good friendships and strong bonds is something that a lot of people can't do. I know for me, for the longest time in my, 20s and 30s, I couldn't be emotionally sort of vulnerable or connected with another person, but erotic was fine. That was just my body. That was just on a physical level, there were too too many factors that were keeping me from being present and able to tolerate the true feelings of a give and take vulnerable friendship. So I think that the fact that friendship is a thing that you believe in is really important.
And I think it is the cornerstone. I think it's the foundation to any type of relationship, right? Like it needs to start there. I mean, I never understood this either, right? Like for me, it was how fast can I get a woman in bed? How fast could I get what I wanted out of it? How fast could I move on with the least amount of effort possible? Like that's how I spent most of my life. Not since I've been married or since I got married. And even since I got sober, actually, but before that, 1,000,000%. It's once I got sober, it was a whole different game for me. It was a whole different world because I started having a conscience, right? And then after a while, you know, once I did the emotional work and everything else over the last year and a half, I have no interest in that anymore. I need to know the person. I need to understand the person. I need to have such deep emotions for the person that I want them in my life in some level that I don't feel like my life would be as full without them. Not that I wouldn't be whole on my own, right? Because that's kind of what I was trying to explain is I'm looking for interdependence. I'm looking for two people to come to the table as complete entities on their own and then merge into an interdependent partnership.
And I think,
yeah.
go ahead. No, and I think that's something that I came to realize is that, you know, we're told, or not told, I don't know, the sort of prototype is that, you know, you get married, it's your best friend, you guys do everything together, whatever that is. You know, the joke that a husband would have to get a golf pass to go golfing with the buddies, or, you know, that the women go do things and the men go do things. However that was constructed, you know, years ago to be the prototype. For me, I realized that the person I'm with fell in love with me as an independent being, separate from them. And the more that I enmeshed myself with them, mix those two colors of Play-Doh that can't be pulled apart, the less I am the person they fell in love with. And in doing that, in being less the person they fell in love with, it's because I'm less me. I am more and more moving away from who I really am. And so that interdependence rather than codependence, that idea that we're two complete beings coming into one relationship, two beings, one relationship, right? That's really for me, an important thing that I come back to.
Well, and like that, right? Like I've talked about this a lot lately, and well, I say that lately, right? Which I say loosely because the last 5 weeks of my life have really been a blur with everything going on in my life, between not feeling well, then being back, then good for a week, then bad for another week, and you know, it's like if both sides have to work continuously evolve for themselves. And then both sides come together to evolve together. It's the only way that works. It has to be a continuous growth and evolution, right? I mean, that's where relationships go bad over time, in my mind, right? And what do I know? Because I married, you know, a very horrible human being. That if she was more intelligent, she probably would have been a serial killer. She's just not that intelligent, thank God. You know, like, do we ever find what we're looking for? Do we compromise our faith? I have to tell you, what I've learned over the last 15 months of my life is I will not settle for anything ever again in my life. And I am not going to compromise. I am going to wait for what I want, and that's it. Now, I'm quasi in a situation where what I want found me, so that makes it a little bit easier. Now it's just waiting on serendipitous timing. But
I think often what we choose to manifest does find us. And I put in the comments, I choose to not knowingly compromise. That's how I approach it. Compromise to what end? So that I'm not available to what I really want, or what I really deserve. I'm not available to the opportunity of someone who embodies everything that's important to me, right? If I'm in something that's a compromise, I'm not out there allowing the universe to bring me the thing that will fit most seamlessly into my life, that will bring the greatest growth to me and to us as partners. So I choose not to knowingly compromise. And it took me a while to be okay with being alone, right? That was something, when especially right after I got divorced, it's like, well, I wasn't ready to date, but I didn't want to end up alone, right? And then I started dating. It's like, well, good enough. He checks this box and this box and this box. And I can compromise on this. And it took me time to realize I have a list of non-negotiables, and that list exists for a reason. Those are the things that bring me joy. Those are the things that allow me to be me in a relationship. Those are the things that allow me to grow in a relationship. Those are the things that help me to feel satisfied and respected and loved. Like all those good things, those things that are on the non-negotiables list are there for a reason. They are what's going to be present in a truly good relationship for me. So compromising that, you can see logically, and you have to get there emotionally, that if I'm compromising on my non-negotiables, which are clear to me that are things that are important to me in a relationship, for a relationship to be a good relationship, then it makes sense not to compromise. I think for a lot of people, it's the connection between knowing that and really feeling and believing it in your heart. And I'm at a place where I believe it in my heart. My life is very full with friends and family, and that I don't feel alone. I will say there are times when I wish I had my own person, and that it would be like, now would be a good time to have my own person. Like there are definitely those moments that occur, and we're all entitled to those. We're entitled to the, like, it's not fair moment. And like, how much longer? And I don't want to go through another earthquake on my own, or I don't want to go through another stomach flu on my own, or, heart decision, or I don't want to, do any of that, quote unquote, on my own. I don't have a dedicated person, but that doesn't mean I don't have people in my life who aren't willing to step up and fill those roles, so that I don't feel alone or lonely.
I think lonely's overrated. Or I think the disdain or the hatred towards being lonely is overrated.
Well, I don't mind being alone. I don't know that I would like, I think there's value to sitting in lonely, but I don't mind being alone. I like being alone. I actually require quite a bit of alone time, but being lonely to me is a different place.
But what I noticed is lonely's temporary, right? Lonely's temporary, but settling is not temporary. Settling can turn into a decade, and I know that for a fact. Settling easily can turn into a decade. It's just, I've learned from my life. Like, maybe it's easy to say that I have my 3 children. Maybe it's easy to say that I'm, turning 42. Maybe it's easier to say at this point that, I'd rather be lonely than be with the wrong person. But I break it down very simple. I need mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual connection, which is not easy to find on all levels. But I need somebody that I can sit in a room with and do absolutely nothing and be the happiest moments of my life. That's what I want. Like, it's that simple. Because if you can do nothing and be happy with that person, all the great things just get that much better.
Well, and after being divorced, one of the things that I realized is doing nothing with someone makes it something. And I will say I rather be alone rather than with the wrong person. I won't say I'd rather be lonely. There's times I'm lonely. It's not a comfortable feeling, but I also know, like you said, it's temporary, right? And I think for some people, we say it's as simple as. I think for people, it depends on where you're at. It can feel really complicated. And there can be a lot that's contributing to why you're in that place, why you're feeling that way. And it may not feel very temporary, or it is temporary, but it's longer than my temporary, or maybe Michael's temporary, right? So I think it's important to get clear and acknowledge that it's a struggle for people. It is. Like you said, it's hard to find someone who has all of those things, all those places you want to connect. I know for me, cognitive engagement is huge. Cognitive engagement is huge. Emotional intelligence is huge. For me, sense of humor. I need to be laughing in this life. I need someone who I am going to laugh with every day. That's my desired partner has these qualities. And yes, spiritual and connected to something, I connect with the universe and our universal energy and, with people and, a lot of other things. I need them to be compassionate. I keep saying that. The person I desire will be compassionate and empathetic and, believe in humanity. There's so many pieces, right, to find. And I think it takes a lot of experience to know what those pieces are, to know what's on your non-negotiables list. And that's not simple. That's the part that's not simple, for sure. Once you have that and you feel really strongly that you've got the right pieces, on the right things on that list, it does kind of become simple because either that person embodies those things or they don't, right? To me, there's some simplicity there. Is either you embody this or you don't. Once I got my list really tight and I was really clear, and there are things that may not seem important to other people that are on my list, and that's okay. Everybody's list is going to look differently. Everybody's relationship is going to operate in a different way. We're all individuals. We all bring what we bring to the table. I used to joke, listen, I don't care if my partner has baggage. What I care about is, how long have they been carrying it around for first? Like, how old is your baggage? How new is your baggage? But I don't want to end up with a full set of carry-on luggage, right? I want to have the baggage we need for like month-long trips or whatever it is. So it's that compatibility too. And like I said earlier, I am not looking for someone that I can save. I'm not looking for someone that I can make the difference in their life in a way that they need me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, again, right, I think everybody comes up with their own personal list, right? I think everybody, over time, we create our own list and non-negotiables. And like you said, sense of humor is a big thing. And like, I need somebody that has quasi the same sense of humor as me, because for everything I am, my sense of humor is definitely different than most. And I need that, right? And that's a tough fit. Like, what I'm looking for is not an easy fit, and I know that. But I don't want to be miserable anymore. I don't want to settle for misery. I did that so many years in my life. I did it by choice and then not by choice.
Right. I don't want to choose to be miserable. I don't want to invite that in.
Yeah, to me, it's not worth it. I take the temporary loneliness at any time over choosing to be miserable again, or having to, go through person after person to see if I'm miserable. For me, it's going to take, this angelic unicorn almost of an individual, which is crazy because, they don't exist almost, right? It's going to take that type of situation to fit what I'm looking for. And if it happens, I'm open, I'm willing, I'm ready. But if it doesn't, I'm okay with that too. And I'll wait the rest of my life because I don't care. I'm not going to settle to be miserable anymore. Sydney Rain, what are you doing? Baking a cake in there?
Yeah.
She's taken every single, whatever they're called, utensil. Okay, go.
Hi, Kamakshi. I'm so glad you made it. Well, and that's the thing is for me, and everybody defines it differently. I'm not saying I'd rather be lonely than with the wrong person. I'd rather be alone because there are times I feel desperately lonely. Let's be honest. I don't walk through every day feeling completely connected to everyone who's in my life and everyone who loves me. And there are some situations, like I said, where my person, where's my person? In this moment, where's my person? But I don't sit in lonely as often as I am alone. And I don't feel lonely often, or as often as I used to, because of the community I have around me, because of the people who I have chosen to gather as my chosen family, right? Who I have invited in, you know, and embraced and have beautiful reciprocal relationships with.
Yes.
And that allows me not to feel lonely all the time. Again, I'd be lying if I didn't say there are times when I want to stomp my foot and fold my arms across my, you know, my chest and be like, it's not fair. It's not fair that I don't have my person. It's not fair that I've got to get on this 10-foot ladder, no one to hold it to change a freaking light bulb, right? I have those days. I totally have those days. But I feel being alone in my apartment for the last however many weeks, I have felt less alone in my life than times when I was living with 52 women in a sorority house. I felt less lonely and less alone. Yes, Annie. Yeah. I think if you've been there, and I know that you have traveled an arduous road. If you've been there, you understand it. And I can't say that I'm expressing it 1,000% clearly, but it's certainly. So thank you. I appreciate your understanding and your support. And I think that's the thing. Do we show up for each other? Annie, thank you for stepping into this space with me, right? You're not trying to fix anything. There's nothing to fix. You're not trying to convince or change. You just stepped into the space with me. You're sharing space alongside of me. And I think that's a huge, important thing for people to be able to do for one another. And here's the thing. Yes, that angelic unicorn is out there, because that angelic unicorn is going to be seen that way through your eyes, not through everybody's eyes, but through your eyes. You still have to be mute. Is it loud over there?
It's out there, Annie. And I'm going to wait forever for that person. I'm stubborn.
Yeah. So I think that we started our conversation about the voices in our heads, and we came to another very beautiful place of conversation tonight, which is not unusual for us. But I am looking at the time, and I think that being mindful of, you know, the fact that you have all chosen to spend some of your Sunday evening with us, or morning, wherever you are, afternoon, some of your time with us. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for engaging and being with us. I want to thank you for being honest and real in the comments. And I want to thank you for being part of our community and part of our family. We value you. You are appreciated more than you know, probably. So I'm going to start by saying goodnight. And then Mike, you can say goodnight when you find a quiet moment. But thank you to everyone. Have a week filled with light and love. Be kind to yourself and believe in yourself enough to know your worth, and that you don't have to compromise. You deserve to be loved so fully, so deeply, and so unconditionally that you can't doubt it.
And hopefully, before this starts.
I feel like you had something
Is
really
it cutting out again?
Yeah.
Is it cutting out again?
It was. I feel like you had a great comment and we missed it. That's a Mike's. That's it. All right. That's Mike's mic drop. He'll put it in comments if he feels it can be expressed that way. Thank you to all of you. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you here again next week.